It's time for a Patreon-sponsored review. I'll try to do more of these types of videos as they tend to keep me on my proverbial toes. Quite fitting that Uncharted was chosen, considering that there's a film adaptation coming out soon, and I really hope it doesn't suck. Uncharted Drake's Fortune is an action-adventure third-person shooter developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony. It stars Nolan North as the franchise protagonist, Nathan Drake, alongside Emily Rose as reporter/love interest, Elena Fisher, and Richard McGonagall as Victor Goddamn Sullivan, aka Sully, as they embark to discover the secret of El Goddamn Dorado. God damn! Along the way, we'll come across an overly rich villain with too many grunts for one person to possibly have. A superstitious underling that has way more sympathetic of a death than I was expecting.
That's right, you ugly kunyuk! Don't mess with any Raja!
And a Starscream that actually has the courage to do what his namesake never could.
Adios, jefe. So little imagination.
Oh yeah, there are supernatural elements in play as well, which makes sense when you remember that this whole franchise is basically a love letter to good old popcorn action flicks, namely Indiana Jones. And just like the best Indiana Jones movies, it's the chemistry between the two leads that really makes this plot work. Sure, there are some other enjoyable moments with the other characters, but it's Nolan North and Emily Rose that really elevate it to a whole new level.
Shouldn't we call the authorities or something?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, but we don't exactly have a permit to be here.
What?
Yeah, so unless you want to end up in a Panamanian jail, we should probably handle this ourselves.
What's worse?
You obviously haven't been in a Panamanian jail. Do you know how to use one of these?
Yeah. Whoa there, cowboy. That's for leaving me at the dock. No, you're not going out there alone.
Yeah, Roman's men are swarming all over this place.
Yeah, and one person will make a lot less noise than three. Come on, I'll be fine. And you guys will be safe here. They don't even know about this room.
Okay, take this with you. Leave it on Channel 13. They don't use that one. And keep us posted.
All right, you got it. Close this thing back up.
Yeah.
Nate, be careful.
Come on. I always am. Ah! I did not see that! Ah!
Oh, well, you know, I did manage to save one small thing. Here, I thought you might miss this.
Thanks.
Yeah.
As for the gameplay, it is mostly a third-person shooter, and while I am playing the PS4 remaster, it still feels like an 07 video game, and by what I mean is, the aiming isn't the best and the cover system feels beyond wonky, but it isn't something that you can't eventually get used to. The final chapter, however, I cannot help but always get frustrated at because you're thrown onto a ship and you have to take down a couple dozen enemies, all while the final boss has immunity and a gun that can kill you with one hit. Then there's the fact that the final boss is a glorified QTE section which comes out of nowhere. Yeah, there are a couple of QTE sections throughout the game, but this one felt especially egregious. Thankfully, most firefights are enjoyable enough, as are the rest of the gameplay sections. My favorite parts of this game were the platforming segments. You just gotta climb and jump your way forward. Although there was one part where the game just decided that Drake wasn't feeling like jumping at the moment. Gotta love that early installment wonkiness. Regardless, whether I was climbing tall structures, leaping across bottomless chasms, or swinging for my life, Drake's Fortune always brought the fun times. Staying on the topic of fun, puzzles! There aren't a lot here, but whenever you do come across one, it always felt satisfying to solve. That is, outside of the first one, which just felt like a glorified tutorial, which it probably was. The penultimate puzzle inside the library actually had me stumped for quite some time on my first playthrough, but that's mainly due to the fact that I was really overthinking the solution instead of noticing the obvious one, which happens way more often than I'd like to admit. The final part of Uncharted's gameplay is finding treasure, which makes sense as Nate is a hunter for said objects. There are 60 to find in all, and as you can see before you, I am not very good at finding them. If you can get enough treasure, you'll get unlocks including alternate outfits, character skins, guns, artwork, and more. I really miss when games had completion bonuses like this. It really gives me that nostalgic feeling, especially when nowadays publishers would rather have the development teams put all this stuff up as DLC. Those bastards. One of the best things I can say about Uncharted Drake's Fortune is that it isn't a long game. My most recent playthrough only took me around 5.5 hours. Albeit this is my third time going through the game, but I'd imagine it should take new players around maybe 7 or 8 hours, maybe 14 if you're going for 100%. The main reason I give the brevity of this game such high praise is due to how overbloated some modern games being, with Ubisoft and their copycats being the worst offenders. It's just nice playing through a game that knows what it wants to do and gets it done. What? No, I talked about that. No, trust me, I talked about that. We went over all the gameplay stuff. No, fine, I'll check. Let me just take a look through this and... Alright, here we go. The jet ski sections, aka everyone's favorite part of the game. I'm not going to mince words here. I hate these parts. I hate them with every fiber of my being. Thankfully, they don't show up too often, but whenever I see that thing, my blood starts to boil ever so slightly. The driving mechanics are okay, except when you're trying to go upstream, then they go straight to hell! The aiming feels off, and yes, you have to drive and shoot at the same time, which just adds more fuel to this fire. I'm just glad these sections didn't overstay their welcome, because Naughty Dog could have easily pulled a Rocksteady and been like, these jet ski sections are fun, let's make 1/3 of the gameplay centered around it. Okay, back on the Positivity Express. The game graphically has aged pretty well, all things considered. Yes, this is a remaster, but Mass Effect Legendary Edition, this is not. Even with all the tweaks Blue Point Games did, it doesn't lose that feeling of being a PS3 game with all of its pros and cons. And I say pros because I owned a 360 during that generation and only got to play PS3 games using my brother-in-law's system. And as it turns out, I'm far from alone in this feeling, as that was basically the reason why the first 3 Uncharted games were remastered for PS4 before the conclusion to Nate's journey was released. This is something I wish more companies did. If you've got a franchise that's been running throughout multiple generations of consoles, and you don't want players to miss the plot, then get these games up on newer hardware. On top of that, it helps preserve the games as well, and I'm all about games preservation. It's one of the main reasons I harp on about getting the Goemon games on modern systems. I don't even care which ones, just get them on there! Anyways, I have rambled on long enough. Uncharted Drake's Fortune is a grand time, and I can't recommend it enough, especially if you enjoy all of the snark. And dying, you're probably going to die all of the deaths. But then again, that risk comes with the territory of being a treasure hunter. Ultimate risk equals ultimate reward. See you all next time with another Patreon request!